to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And a special good morning. Welcome to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. We're going to have a great show today. It's Memorial Day weekend. Monday is an American holiday observed on the last Monday of every month, honoring the men and women who died while serving in the U.S. military. Memorial Day occurs on Monday, May 25. So I want to welcome every one of you. And if you're a veteran, especially, thank you so much, because the freedom that we enjoy in the United States is unequaled anywhere in the world. So, Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part today by our partners, O'Reilly Auto Parts. And when you need auto parts, O'Reilly Auto Parts, and we use them in our service shop, is just a few clicks away. It's more convenient than ever. All you have to do to get your parts is go online to O'ReillyAuto.com, pick up a few free of your local auto, pick up the parts at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store, and they'll even bring the parts out curbside. How cool is that? Or you can choose to have your parts delivered right to your door with free shipping on most orders over $35. You can get your auto parts quickly with auto parts at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Okay, I'm going to give you the toll-free number. And I'm going to start off this morning's program, as I said last week, with a GDI. That's gasoline direct injection, and why it's important for you to clean your engine. You can learn a lot today. 888-227-2546. Millie will take your call, put you in the queue, and I'll put you on the air when I come back. Don't go away. A 2013 Honda Accord came in the shop running rough, stalling, and a check engine light. The vehicle had originally been repaired by another shop. After a thorough diagnosis, we found the vehicle was generating a bad signal from the crankshaft position sensor. This seemed odd, as it had just recently been replaced, but the scope doesn't lie. A bad waveform signal needs to be fixed. Our solution? A new crankshaft position sensor from Motorrad. A longtime leader for vehicle thermostats and cabs, Motorrad now offers engine management products that are engineered to meet and or exceed OEM specifications. They're designed to perform under severe operating conditions and are resistant to extreme heat. We made the change, and that fixed the car. Motorrad engine management products are manufactured in Tier 1 OEM facilities with top quality qualifications. They undergo comprehensive 100% in-line and end-of-line testing to ensure uncompromising quality. Learn more about Motorrad engine management products and other Motorrad solutions at Motorrad.com. Our inbox has been especially full these past few weeks as people are looking for advice regarding keeping their vehicles road ready. Jim from Dallas wrote, "What can I do to make sure my vehicles are prepared and ready to go?" Jim, the economic impact of the current health crisis has touched every hardworking American. Making your dollar stretch further is more important than ever before. Commuting to grocery stores and other essential outlets has changed the way most Americans drive. Shorter trips and lower operating temperatures can increase the probability of carbon buildup in your vehicle's engine combustion chamber. Look to Berryman products to help maintain optimum performance in MPG. Berryman's intake valve and combustion chamber cleaner is a simple-to-use kit that can truly add fuel economy, better performance, and longevity to your vehicle's engine. Regular use of Berryman B12 fuel system cleaner can assist you in maintaining a clean and healthy fuel injection system. Check out Berryman products' complete line of maintenance and cleaning products designed for do-it-yourselfer and professional technicians alike at BerrymanProducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get this show started. So here's what I'm going to do for you today. There's a gentleman who's a senior editor at The Car Connection. And yesterday, or the day before, as I was doing some show prep, I learned about some special deals. So now's really a good time for you to make a decision. Do you want to keep your car in its current condition? And I mean, if it needs to work, spend money on it. You must spend money. If you drive the new off the car, you must put new back on it. So just remember that. And what that will do is it'll save you money in the long run. There's no way that you can buy a new car every 2 years, every 3 years, or 4 years and save money. You can keep a car for 10 years. Now, you may not want to, and if you have the cash, then go buy a new car. But let me just share this with you folks. It is not rocket science. Now, working on the cars is rocket science, but keeping the car maintained is not rocket science. But it takes some dedication, effort. Just like you brush your teeth in the morning and you brush your teeth in the evening and you take your showers, those are the things that you do with the automobile. Except you don't brush your teeth. You clean the interior of the engine that has, and I mentioned last week, the GDI, which is a gasoline direct injection. Well, what's the difference between a gasoline direct injection and port injection? The port injection pours the fuel down the intake, down the mouth of the engine. And when the fuel goes down the mouth of the engine, then it washes the back of the valves because it has to go by the valves to get into the piston area. As such, it cleans off the oil and the carbon that sticks to the back of the intake valve that causes drivability problems. Every internal combustion engine has those problems. So why did they come out with GDI? Because gasoline direct injection, which like a diesel, sprays under high pressure the fuel directly into the piston area. You get better efficiency. You get cooling of the combustion chamber. Well, why would you want to cool a chamber when heat is actually where you get the power? The cooler you can keep the chamber, then the less volatility there is in the top of the piston, which means that if I've got an engine that's 10-to-1 compression ratio, which is a sort of a high performance, and you've got one that's 11-to-1, you can make more power because you have more compression. You have more of it's called BMEP, brake mean efficient, effective pressure, or the pressure that pushes the piston down. Now, if your engine is running hot and you've got 11-to-1 and you don't have the fuel to maximize the premium fuel, the higher octane, you're not going to be outperforming my 10-to-1. Why? Because it's not a match. The formula doesn't match. So what do? You mix and match the fuel, or you buy the fuel that's directly relevant to the compression ratio. Still, when you do that, if we both had 12-to-1 compression ratio, which is what the NASCAR guys use, 12.1-to-1 is the maximum, and of course 14-to-1 will outrun a 12-to-1. Well, why don't the reason they don't let the NASCAR guys run 14-to-1 is because they want to slow them down. They still run with the restrictor plates 200 miles an hour. They'd run 250 miles an hour if the NASCAR didn't slow them down using a restrictor plate. What's a restrictor plate? It's the same thing as taking a 1-inch pipe and covering half of it and expecting the same flow. Ain't going to happen. So the air flowing into the engine dictates how much air gets into the cylinder. That's what it's all about, the engine's air pump. Anyway, having said that, when you have a port injection, the fuel washes the intake valve and the engine stays cleaner longer. So they went away from that to direct injection so they could have more power and more efficiency and have a better running engine, which means that we all buy more gas mileage and cleaner emissions and all those things. Having said that, what happened was when the fuel stopped flowing over the intake valve, then that intake valve coked up with carbon. So what did Ford do? What did Toyota do? Well, Toyota's always done this. They have two sets of injectors, direct injection and port injection. And the port injection is there, as Ford says, when they in 2017 when they replaced or reinstated the port injection along with the direct injection, they said, oh, it's for drivability. It wasn't for drivability. It was for a cleaner intake, which ultimately does lead to drivability at 15, 20, 30,000 miles. So those are the kind of things that you need to know that I can help you with. So now I'm going to turn the mic over to you. I'm going to invite you to call. The phone, Miss Millie will take your call at 888 Car Clinic. Let me make it simple for you. 888-227-2546. We'll go to Tony. Tony, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for calling. You're first in, so you're first up. What can I do for you today?
I got a real dilemma going on here. I'll try to be quick and explain the problem.
Take your time. No worries. No worries. You take your time. There's no dilemma here. There's just you and I, and I'm sure that the information that you need from me and I give you, other people who are tuned in will listen. So you got a 2008 Acura.
No, 2002.
2002. Well, Millie's got 2008 there. So anyway,
we had some miscommunication, but
obviously
I have a 2002 Chevy Silverado 2500 crew cab pickup truck with a Duramax diesel engine in it. And what it's doing is it's losing power on acceleration. I've done a lot of research online, and it looks like it says it's causing loss of rail pressure during acceleration, is what I'm hearing online. But I'll be in neutral. You can put your foot in it and rev it right up to 4,000, 3,500 RPM, smooth, no problem at all.
Right.
As soon as you put it in drive and start down the road and give it any fuel, it bogs down real bad. I'm in Ormond Beach, and I could barely get over the Granada Bridge. I mean, it just creeped up that bridge.
Well, maybe there's a fuel flow. Maybe there's a flow problem. You know, the difference between in neutral and under load is a dramatic amount of pressure and power needed. So you could put a car in neutral in a car that would, it was just like you, if you ever been on a treadmill and you put it on level 1, you can just spin those wheels easily. But you put it on level 10 or 8 or 12 and your legs say, hey, wait a minute, what are you doing? So the difference between going over the Granada Bridge, and I've been over it there, by the way, the difference between loading and in your driveway, that's two totally different animals. But have you done it? Have you headed to a shop? And if so, any service been performed on it? When's the last time the fuel filter was changed?
Well, the fuel filter and the fuel filter housing was changed a couple of days ago at a Chevy dealer in Georgia on the road when we broke down, and it was a $1,300 repair.
Wow.
Did the same as soon as we pulled out. They changed that pump, the priming pump on the housing.
Right.
They changed that piece and put a new filter on it. It's doing the same thing.
Well, let me ask you a question. So, Tony, let me ask you a question. When you left that Chevy, the dealer, and you said, where was it, Georgia?
Georgia, South Carolina line.
Okay. When you left that dealer, this same problem happened on the road. You stopped, and they put some parts on it, and you paid, and you left them. Did the truck run okay for 100 miles or 10 miles or for 500 miles?
Maybe 20 miles, then it started up the same problem exactly. And we limped on in here to Ormond Beach.
Oh, wow. So you're going to go back to a Chevy store, right? Because that should be under warranty.
No.
Huh?
No. Well, the part's under warranty, but I don't even want to go to John Hall down here. I have a local mechanic here. We took it to him yesterday. He didn't really have time to look at it because it was late notice on Friday. And he cleaned out, he blew out some lines. He put it on the scope, and I forget what the code came up, but it came up as a flow restriction kind of thing on the check engine light code.
Right.
And I think what we have is maybe it could be a collapsed line, one of the soft lines on the fuel lines coming out of the tank going to the water separator, and then it goes to the fuel module, then it goes to the high pressure pump, right? Then it goes into the engine.
That's right, but also there's a supply tank pump, and that supply pump could be failing, and that could cause the issue.
In the tank itself.
The tank itself, yeah. I mean, so here's my dilemma for you, and here's my concern for you. The franchised Chevrolet dealer, Napa Auto Parts, Napa Auto Care, and Bosch Auto Service Centers across the country, and there's a lot more Napa than there are Bosch, but those are independent shops. If a Bosch Auto Service Center works on your car, or a Napa Auto Care Center works on your car in Georgia, and then you come to Florida, you can go to another Napa or Bosch, whichever fits the bill, and they'll back up what was done in Georgia. And so it bothers me, it concerns me for you that you didn't go to the dealer, because if there's a problem with a part that Georgia's store put on, then it would be covered by warranty. But now you've gone to an outside concern. And I'm an independent. I'm not trying to steer you away from your local independent there in Ormond Beach. I'm just saying this is the time where you need to go to a store, and John Hall would be the place to go, because they can recheck what was performed in Georgia by the dealer, and they can call one service manager to another. I mean, there's a brotherhood there. And that's it. I tell you what, you stay right there, Tony. And Joe, I see you're on the air as well. Folks, go ahead and get in now during the break. 888-227-2546, and I'll come back. We'll pick up where I left off. Cooling system repairs. We've all needed them. But what happens when that local mechanic or your garage is miles away? Situations like this were made for K-Seal, a pour-in solution that helps stop cooling system leaks. Older sealers use sodium silicate, which can clog the system. K-Seal features ceramic technology designed to repair the leak without clogging. Tough times create the need to be prepared. Make K-Seal part of your emergency road kit. K-Seal is available nationwide at stores like O'Reilly Auto Parts. Go to O'ReillyAuto.com for store hours and shipping options. As we kick off National Car Care Month in the midst of COVID-19, making sure your vehicle is road ready has never been more important. The Car Care Council remind you it's the perfect time for a thorough check of various vehicle maintenance items like brakes, batteries, tires, cooling system, filters, headlights, and the exhaust system. Visit carcare.org to find out how you can best keep your vehicle safe and dependable. It's National Car Care Month. Are you car care aware? Learn more at carcare.org. That's carcare.org. This car repair spotlight brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. In the shop this week was a 97 Lincoln Town Car with a broken trunk lid closer. This device was designed to automatically lock the deck lid, but when it goes bad, the lid won't lock or even close all the way. The issue we faced was the original Ford unit was fairly expensive, and the local dealer didn't stock that item, and my customer needed his car back. Much to everyone's delight, our local O'Reilly Auto Parts professional located the part and delivered it same day. Fact is, the part was a dormant updated unit that had been redesigned to correct the gears that typically strip out. In other words, a better part than the Lincoln came with new. This is another reason our service team buys from O'Reilly Auto Parts. Given they have so many stores nationwide, it's all but impossible to find replacement parts there. Our customer was smiling, the technician happy he was able to get the car fixed that day, and the new part worked like a charm. This car repair spotlight brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
We recently sat down with Johnson Controls Global Brand Manager Joe Meyer to discuss the advantages of AGM batteries when compared to traditional flooded batteries. Let's hear from Joe.
A key difference between the two batteries is how the acid is handled. So in a traditional flooded battery, the acid is free-flowing. However, in an AGM or absorbent glass mat battery, the acid is completely absorbed into the glass mat separators. Our AGM batteries meet non-spillable requirements, which support enhanced safety. So in the event of a crash, our AGM batteries will not leak acid. Another important difference is that the high compression cell design of our AGM batteries leads to improved vibration resistance and battery cycling capabilities. Basically, in non-technical terms, our AGM battery design helps provide up to 2 times the life of standard flooded batteries.
AGM batteries help meet the electrical demands put on today's vehicles. Learn more at autobatteries.com.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Glad you tuned in today, folks. I hope that you have a great day. We're having some technical difficulties, and we're working on those things. So I apologize to all of our Watch Bobby Live, but sometimes you just have those instances. I would like to say that it's been a difficult week for me because I have a dear friend whom I love very much who is in a deathbed, and it really has upset me today. And then my grandson had an accident and rolled, and but for the grace of God and the fact that he wore his seatbelt yesterday, then he could have been seriously injured. So, when you have those things that happen in your lifetime, sometimes you can lose your cool and sometimes you can't. So I've lost my cool this morning, but that's okay. That's okay because it just proves that I'm human. Now, Tony, let's get back to your truck. Here's the bottom line. Don't go back to the dealer. I mean, don't go back to the independent. Go to the dealer because you spent money with the dealer, and the dealer has to stand behind because they're franchised. So why? Okay. And so for you to protect you, forget the fact that you're going to go to a second opinion. You need to go back to the original source, which is a franchise dealer. Whether you like John Hall or not, the fact is they're a franchise dealer. They're obligated to perform following this dealership in Georgia. So that's a mistake that you made. So what else can I do for you? I mean, what else?
Well, we just called John Hall. They're open. I guess we could take it down there.
I guess you could.
We didn't really do anything at the other place. We just put it on the scope.
Exactly.
With the dealers, they had my truck all day, and they charged me $1,300, and they didn't do anything.
But they.
Well, they didn't.
Well, you don't know that. I mean, here's the whole point. Right. Until you get the rest of the story, you can't condemn. You can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. In other words, you can't say, well, this one dealer they screwed me. I gave them $1,300. Either a part could be bad, maybe they didn't replace the right parts. Maybe the fact that they took it apart and replaced some pieces allowed whatever trash was in there, and there could be more trash, that or whatever causing the problem. And by disturbing it, I know for a fact that I have seen. I know for a fact that we had a car in here, and Johnny Bars, who is a master ASE certified technician, he's me in the service shop. And let me tell you something. We had a car that had a thermostat problem. He had to unplug the computer main plug, like 97 pins, to get to the thermostat housing. He just simply loosened the baling that was the clamp that holds the master plug on, and the master plug has guide slides, so you can't slide it in wrong. It will only go one way. He unplugged that, moved it out of the way. Didn't even take the computer out now. Just unplugged the top of it and went in there and did his work on the thermostat and put it back together. When he finished, he had fixed the problem, but the gauge didn't work. And the computer says, we got a problem here. So I walked over and I said, well, tell me what you did. So he said, well, I did this, and this. And he said, I unplugged this. So I unplugged one of the computer, and it was okay. Unplugged the one next to the one I unplugged. And lo and behold, when he put it together, one of the 97 pins that is literally the size of a hair almost bent. And so we straightened that pin, put it back together. So I said all that to say that things happen. In fact, I had a doctor tell me one day, he said, Bobby, I get $1,500 for a procedure. He said, it takes me 15 minutes. He said, that's too much money. He said, but I don't get paid for the procedure. I get paid to know what to do when something happens on the operating table wrong. Got it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna take the truck back down there to John Hall.
Okay.
And let me just ask you this real quick.
Sure.
All the research I did online, it talked about this problem, and this one site gave a bunch of solutions for it. One was the soft hoses on the metal line, the fuel lines, coming out of the pump in the tank and going to the water separator.
Right.
It's a 2002. Those lines are 18 years old. One of those could be failing and collapsing under pressure, right?
Well, it wouldn't collapse under pressure. It would collapse under vacuum, but pressure, if it was weak, would, I mean, here's the point. We could sit here and what if all day long, but sooner or later, somebody's going to put their hand on what's wrong with it, and it would behoove you, because you've already spent $1,300, it'd behoove you to go to John Hall. John Hall didn't do the work, but they're a franchise dealer, and their service manager is going to call the service manager in Georgia and say, hey, I got Tony here, and you guys worked on this truck this week, and it's doing the same thing, and I see by the invoice that you did X, Y, and Z, and then let me talk to the technician. You could have the two technicians. So that is like two doctors, looking over the same patient, and one doctor saying, well, I think it's this. What's your prognosis? So that is the way to handle this situation. You got it?
Yeah, that sounds good. I think that's what we'll drop it off at John Hall.
Okay. All right.
And let them get this.
Done deal. Done. I'm glad you called me. Have a great Memorial Day weekend, and thanks for calling.
Thanks, Bobby, and I hope your friend gets better.
She's not going to get better.
Then I hope she knows the Lord.
I thought she does. Thank you.
Thank you. Good.
888-227-2546 is the number for you to call, folks. Let's go to Joe. Joe, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning, Bobby. Thank you for taking the call.
You're welcome.
I have a 2008 Acura MDX, 96,000 miles, and I'm concerned about the timing belt, and I'll tell you why. I come from Connecticut with all that salt in wintertime, and when I took it to a garage, they were concerned about breaking the bolt that accesses the timing belt. So, of course, I didn't want to take that chance either. Now I got 96,000 miles on it. Do I bring it back to maybe the dealer, or do I get rid of the car? I'm in between the ocean and the deep blue sea. Should I keep it? I love the car, so I would love to keep it.
Hey,
but maybe you could tell me what to do with it. I appreciate it.
Well, I hear your pain, and I'm with you. There's a discount tire store just like 2 blocks from us, and they are really terrific. But about once a week, or 2 times a week, or once a month, when they're putting tires on the cars, they break a wheel stud. They don't do it. The wheel stud strips when they take it off. I mean, if you're unscrewing something and it breaks, you don't cause that. Sure, you broke it, but only because it was seized or had some other problems. So it's beyond me why a shop would advise you not to do regular, routine, call for maintenance on your vehicle because they're afraid they're going to break a bolt. I think so. That doesn't work for me. And whoever says that should be in another business because they're afraid they're going to break a bolt. If a doctor said, "Well, gosh, I'm going to do open heart surgery, but the sight of blood makes me sick," really? Would you change professions?
Right.
So you need a second opinion. And I'm giving you the first opinion here. The timing belt on that car. And by the way, Tommy Bernardino, who is our number 2 tech in the service shop, just put together a Subaru that had 10 valves bent because the timing belt broke, had 140,000 miles on the vehicle, and it wasn't a month ago that owner of that car was warned, hey, you got 140,000 miles on the timing belt, it's time. Oh, no, it'll be okay. And sure enough, it was towed back in the shop, and he had to put all the valves back in and put new timing belt on it. So I'm with you. You do not have to. You got less than 100,000 miles. That car's good for 250,000 miles without a stretch.
Right.
So you find another shop.
Okay.
Find another shop.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah. And by the way, let me just share this with you, Joe. Sometimes when you're doing timing belt jobs or timing chain jobs, the book. By the way, the technician's supposed to read the book. The book says that you have a torque to stretch to torque, which means that you take a bolt and you tighten the bolt down, and we all know that you tighten it so tight with a torque wrench. All right, let's say it's 90 foot-pounds, and you tighten it to 90 foot-pounds. Sometimes after you tighten it to 90 foot-pounds, it says plus a quarter turn. So it's called stretching the bolt. And in the Subaru, there actually were 2 different types of bolts and two different types of flat washers underneath the head, and the torque sequencing was like 5 steps. I mean, Tommy told me about that. I said, my gosh, that's really strange. But the fact is, the reason that the bolts are made that way, especially with timing belts and harmonic balancer bolts and those sorts of things, is because that's a vibration part of the engine, and the bolt has to yield, and that's what it's called, yield to torque. And so by that, what I mean is like a rubber band. You tighten that bolt, and then you stretch it, and you got to stretch it a certain amount, and it's all in the engineering and all performed by the engineering, and you don't use that bolt over because once you stretch it, hey, it doesn't like to be restretched because it can't depend on it. So anyway, so you need to find someone who's really a specialist that knows that car and is not afraid to do whatever the maintenance calls for. And if the bolt breaks, so what? Just fix it.
Do you think it's worth it? Like the timing belt could be anywhere from, I guess, $1,200 to $2,000 to fix. The car is a 2008, and I love the car, and I keep it maintenance every 3,000 miles. I'm changing all the fluids, so everything else is running good. It's just a concern about the belt. So you think I should go ahead and do it?
I do, and one more point, Joe, very important. When the timing belt is replaced, just the timing belt is not what's to be replaced. There's a kit,
right,
and the kit includes, in some cases, like on a Lexus, water pump, timing belt, timing belt tensioner, and timing belt idler pulley. You do that all simultaneously, and then the engine's good for another 10 years. I say 10 years because people don't drive their cars as much these days. So 10 years might be only 60,000 miles. And the belt says, we've replaced a lot of Lexus belts that were 10 years old, and the car didn't have but 50, 60,000 miles because people don't drive much as they used to. So anyway, so I say keep the car because here's a point. In your case, it's different. It's an automatic keep it and pay the price. Where the real challenge comes in is when somebody's got a car that's worth $2,500 and it blows a hose and a belt on a water pump, and the engine overheats and melts the engine, and then they got to say, well, okay, do I keep this car and spend $4,000 on a car that's worth $2,000? You hear me talk about K-Seal all the time. That's a perfect time. If you got a coolant leak, put K-Seal in it because it's not worth spending $4,000. However, having said that, and I'll finish with this because I've got a break coming up. When you have a car that is not worth as much as the repair that is required to make it run, you have to consider that you're buying your own car back. And the difference between buying another used car is that you don't know which shape, so you spend $5,000 on a used car, and then 2 days later you got to spend another $5,000 for a transmission, where it's going to take $5,000 for your transmission, but the rest of the car is okay. You got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, my friend.
Thanks a lot, Bobby. Have a good holiday.
Thank you, sir. You as well. I'm going to come back and talk to Harold, and then I'll take your calls at 888-227-2546. Don't go away. Spring has sprung and summer's around the corner. We're all hoping for a return to some normalcy, which means road trips to the beach, the lake, grandma's house, and other favorite vacation spots. A little preventive vehicle maintenance now will help you avoid trouble ahead. Visit carcare.org to find out how you can best keep your vehicle safe, dependable, and roadworthy. While you're there, order your copy of the free Car Care Guide for your glove box. Go to carcare.org. That's carcare.org. You've heard us talk about PB Blaster for breaking free rusted parts. Now, with the PB Blaster Pro Straw, it's the best. But that's just one of the specially formulated products from the Blaster Corporation to fix, loosen, lubricate, penetrate, and conquer each job. There's Multimax synthetic lubricant, garage door lubricant, white lithium grease, and much more. So don't bust knuckles, bust nuts with PB Blaster. Available at auto parts store or hardware near you. Always use PB Blaster products and work it like a pro. For more information, go to blastercorp.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Here's another Berryman testimonial where everyday drivers share their experiences with products featuring Hest, Berryman's exclusive high-energy solvent technology. Olivia writes in about her 99 Infiniti Q45. The vehicle has 170,000 miles and is starting to hesitate and lag. After researching online, Olivia decided on Berryman's B12 Chem Tool and could not be happier. The product works great and is less expensive, a great value. Learn more about Berryman products and their Hest technology at berrymanproducts.com.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic, brought to you in part by Grundy Insurance. Grundy's Motor Vehicle Program, MVP, makes it possible to combine all of your vehicles on one policy and insure them all at their agreed value. There's the trick, folks. Agreed value. Grundy. Drive to Grundy.com, Grundy, Grundy.com for more information. Or just stay tuned and I'll give you a lot more information. Let's go to Harold. Harold, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for holding.
Hey, it's so steamy in Pensacola, we can make a blue crab turn orange.
I'm telling you. Well, Florida is the tropics.
5 miles south. Hey, I'm 5 miles south of you down here on the north shore of Pensacola Bay.
Wow.
And it's so humid.
I know. I hear you. What can I do for you?
Hey, Bobby, I've got 3 questions.
Okay.
Who was the only female general manager, please don't answer the question, that you ever knew that was a BMW general manager? Don't answer the question. The next question. What do you know about Dr. Ness with Doctor's Porsche?
Which question do I answer first?
I said, don't answer the first one because we all know the answer.
Okay. Well,
I made that one easy.
So Dr. Nass, of course, was my my family practitioner, my personal friend, and whom I loved. He was just unbelievable individual.
I knew Dr. Nass for 67 years.
Well, you know then that he was administrator of Baptist Hospital. I mean, he wasn't just another doctor there. And he was really quite interesting. And then you knew Helen as well, and she's doing well at last that I heard. And I talked to her son Willie Nass, who has I think moved back to Pensacola from Tallahassee. He worked with the Florida Agricultural.
My dad worked with his father at NAS.
Really? Wow. So the bottom line is, I haven't seen Dr. Nass Porsche in years. But Willie Nass, his son, would be the person to talk with about that. Are you thinking of buying that car?
Well, no, but I just know. What do you know about an '84 Mercedes?
A lot.
Okay, I'm in a definition of fuel injection. Why does a diesel not have to have electronic fuel injection when all these new gasoline cars have to?
Well, diesels are electronic now.
Not the '84.
Well, so I mean,
and it's a diesel.
Well,
okay?
Yeah, but don't be confused. No mechanical device can be as precise unless it's controlled by an electronic computer that splits time into milliseconds. Okay.
That's good.
All right.
But what was the top mileage of say the 5-cylinder diesel back in the heyday as far as mechanical fuel injection?
30. I mean, I don't know which one. I mean, a truck, a Mercedes,
300 diesel.
Well, it's got to be in the 30s, mid 30s.
Well, can they beat that now?
Yeah. Hey, wait. Hey, Harold, wait a minute. Now, wait a minute. I drive a luxury stretch version Jag with 11.5 to 1 compression ratio on gas, and my car, which is a large car, of course it's aluminum, so it's not as heavy as it looks. It weighs about 4,400 pounds, I think. But the bottom line is, my car gets 26.7 miles per gallon, averaging 79 miles per hour on gasoline without a supercharger or a turbocharger. That's unbelievable. If you remember, you're talking in the 80s.
But the old diesel 84 model, it was kicking ass back in the day.
Doesn't matter. It smoked like a tar kill, and it was emissions. It was just. I mean, hey, did it not?
My fourth and final question. Hey, listen. My fourth and final question.
You keep shifting the conversation.
Have you had to replay?
Do what? You keep shifting the conversation.
Someone outspoke Bobby Likis? That's impossible.
Okay, what's your next one?
Crab on Pensacola Bay.
All right, what's your next question?
At the bottom, fuse box, 97 E3 or 250.
Okay. What about it?
I had several, without naming, of your competitors, one of which had a $15,000 bragging rights scanner tell me I needed a new computer.
Okay. All right. So what's the question? Okay, I'm all ears now.
It was a bad fuse box.
Yeah.
How often have you run into that in the last 5, 10, or 20 years? Because the day has changed on these vehicles.
Yes, but often. GM now, when you buy a fuse, and we just put one on. Johnny just put one on 3 weeks ago, and he replaced the complete fuse box. And the problem was the fuse had melted in the prongs. So what he could have done.
It reminds me of my mother's house that had aluminum wiring.
Oh yeah. Well, that goes back a ways.
And guess what? The GFI didn't go bad, and the aluminum was melted, and I just replaced it 2 years ago. And it's like, I'm a retired firefighter. What if the jingle had come in when my mama's house was on fire with the GFI not working.
Ooh, that would have been bad.
Electronics.
Yeah.
And do you remember Andy, the guy that did all your AC work?
Sure.
About 30 years ago?
Yeah.
Was he about the best DC guy you ever had?
He was. Let me tell you about Andy, as I remember. Andy was he was old school, but he would feel with his hands the air conditioner compressor lines, and he could tell you where the blockage was. I mean, he had the knack. He was really, really good. I'm good. Hey, I got to go, Harold. Thank you so much for your call. And
how often do fuse boxes go bad? And you know what my mechanic told me?
What?
He said, "Don't park it next to your house."
I don't know about that. I think don't believe everything.
Catch on fire.
Don't believe everything you hear. Just go online. You can learn everything.
Fuse box catch on fire?
Could, yes. Could.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome very much. Take care. All right, let's go to Arlene in Louisiana. Arlene, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Oh, thank you. I hope I don't have a big coronavirus.
It's not on this program. It's called coronavirus.
A coronavirus?
Yeah,
okay.
That's what a sick car is. You know, it's a little humor. As my friend Ronnie Swain, who's passed, used to tell me, that's humor. Likis, darn little humor. Anyway, what can I do for you?
Okay, I have just only thing that doesn't work is the radio and the clock.
Okay.
And I was hoping it was just a fuse box. Some car shop wanted to put it on a rack and do a whole diagnostic evaluation.
Well, put it on a rack. I don't know. Why.
Well, I don't know. Whatever they do
they'll put it on.
Diagnostic.
Okay. All right.
Evaluation.
Okay. All right. So here's Arlene. Here's the simplest thing to do. Get the owner's manual out. Do you have the owner's manual, or do you know?
Yeah, I did. I got the owner's manual out.
Okay.
My husband and I went over it.
Okay. Did you find the fuse that feeds power to the radio?
No. When I bought the fuse, the store told me it was fuse number 32.
Right.
And so we couldn't see where 32 was. Maybe I should look up a technician manual.
Yeah. Here's a bottom line, Arlene, and here's the fact. Cars have more than one fuse box, and some of the fuse boxes have a bunch of relays, and fuse boxes have a little black box inside the fuse box, and then they piggyback. So on one side you got fuses, on the other side you got modules, and so what appears to be really something simple is not so simple. But here's what I would recommend for you to do. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for you listening to me?
Sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, I am. I'm right. I have a pen too.
In your local city, do you know where there's an automotive audio shop, like sells stereos and installs car radio?
We have a Rick's Audio.
Well, there's your answer. Take your car to Rick's Audio and say, "Rick, my radio doesn't work. Would you check the fuse?" He'll know, because they do this 24/7. Not 24/7. They do this all day.
Yeah.
So you don't need me. Or you don't need, when I say me, you don't need a certified automotive repair shop to fix a radio and a clock. What you need is a radio shop, because they've had more dashes apart and modified more wiring than we ever do, because we don't modify wiring. We just stay completely away from that. So you don't want to go to a surgeon. If you were to walk up to a doctor and say, "I got heart pain," he said, "Oh, we got to do open heart surgery." You say, "Wait a minute, doc, don't you want to do some stress tests?" So don't go to a surgeon, which is a shop. Go to a audio store. Go to Rick's and say, "Rick, my radio doesn't work." Don't worry about the clock. Fix the radio, because that's easier. And you know what? In the process, the clock might start working. You got it?
Yes, sir. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
you call. So thank you. Good to hear from you. I wish it were all that simple. Harold got one more question. He asked me 4 questions. Yeah, and Pensacola is humid. I'll tell you, but that's a good thing. It's good for your complexion, you ladies out there, by the way. And if you don't believe me, just look at the same age person on the average now that's from Nevada, and because it's really dry in Nevada and it's really tough on the skin. Folks, I want to share this with you that Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part today by O'Reilly Auto Parts. And when you need auto parts, O'Reilly Auto Parts is the place to go. In fact, online, O'ReillyAuto.com is just a few clicks away. And they offer convenient options for you to get your parts quickly. You can order online at O'ReillyAuto.com and pick up for free at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store. They'll even bring out the parts to you curbside. Or you can choose to have your parts delivered right to your door with free shipping on most orders over $35. You can get your auto parts quickly with O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Go to O'ReillyAuto.com. Take a call. Yeah, we got time. We got time for another call. Let's take a call. Just put one of those online. Good morning. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Who's on the line?
This is Craig.
Craig, Bobby Likis here. You're on the air. What can I do for you, sir?
Hey, Bobby, I was wondering, my dad had a 1971, I think, American Motors Ambassador with a 1/3, 2/3 bench seat.
Okay.
In the front.
Yeah,
and you can't find any car like that anymore. Everything's got this chaperoning console in the middle.
Yeah, that was a 6040, I think it was called.
Okay.
Yeah, 6040. I remember that was a.
But, it was nice. So, on date night, your girl could sidle up next to you and everything, and you could go to the drive-in movies. And now you've got this stupid console in the middle.
Yeah. Somebody's father put the console in the middle, didn't they? I don't know, but you know.
I was wondering if there wasn't some kind of government edict that came down.
No,
you can't have
I don't think
sidling up against each other.
I don't think the government. I think that's one of the few things the government didn't have anything to do with. It was just one of those passing fancies. And let me give you another passing fancy: a Pontiac Aztek. A Pontiac Aztek, and I've never had anybody really hit me for this, so I'm going to go out on a limb. It's one of the ugliest automobiles that General Motors ever made. And people bought those cars, and you could see one coming down the road. Now, they were unique, and if you really wanted to buy a car and you really wanted to be different, a Pontiac Aztek. And, of course, the story that I got was that people like to take them, hunting, or not hunting, but camping. But still, what a strange-looking vehicle from the back of that car. I remember the first time I ever saw one. So, just like you mentioned the Ramblers and the AMCs, let me tell you something. If the manufacturers make it, people will buy it. If that weren't true, the Aztek would have never been. And then what's the other one? Gosh, there's so many old ones now that I forget. But it is interesting to see what the manufacturers are making. And but by the same token, we live in a time now where there's parity. You would be hard-pressed to go buy a bad new car. In fact, the Jaguar that I own is a 13 model. I've got 72,000 miles, and I can't wait for the new XJ, which they haven't come out with. In fact, this is my body style's 10 years old. Still a beautiful car. I can't wait to see the next one. And so somebody said, well, Bobby, wouldn't you be afraid they're going to change it to an EV? And they're changing the whole body look because Ian Callum, who is the designer, retired, and his protege, or one of his associates, is now in charge of designing. And what they're going to do is bring out a whole new car. So somebody asked me the other day, so aren't you afraid that with the all new body you'd have a problem? And the answer is no, I'm not. Not at all. Because today the manufacturing processes, the metallurgy, the electronics, everything is so much superior to what it was 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Anyway, Craig, thanks so much for your call and for your...
Thank you.
That's an interesting console in the middle. Console is like I said, probably some daughter's father who was in charge of AMC said, let's make a... who was in charge of... Well, never mind. I've already been there. So I've got some information that is from the Car Connection that I'm going to open the next hour with. It's about buying a new car and what your options are, because, folks, I will close this hour with this. There's never been a better time to buy a car than now, used or new. Why? You know why? Because business is so flat. So take advantage of it, because it won't be flat forever. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Folks, here's a great story for you. One of our listeners had to fly from Oregon to Maine to pick up his daughter and drive back home across country. She had an older Trailblazer that was not particularly well maintained. They rented a U-Haul, packed everything, and began the trek home. Shortly into the trip, the engine began to run hot due to a leaking radiator. The initial thought was, of course, to find a local shop that could help, but with shelter-in-place orders all around the country, that was difficult. They did find an auto parts store and purchased a bottle of K-Seal along with some coolant. K-Seal stopped the leak, and they finished their trip without any additional coolant leakage. Now, more than ever, it really pays to be prepared. Maintain an emergency road kit and be sure to include, among other items, a bottle of K-Seal. You can find K-Seal at fine parts stores nationwide, like Advance Auto Parts, and you can check the store website for hours and shipping information. And remember, if you have a coolant leak, don't seal it, K-Seal it. And remember, if you have a cooling system leak, don't just seal it, K-Seal it. For more information, go to kseal.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
In the service bay this week, an 05 Chevy Silverado. The truck was experiencing a front brake noise and a pull to the left when stopping. We performed a thorough inspection and found the front pads completely worn out on the driver's side. The passenger side looked to be okay, but we noticed a loose wheel bearing on that side. Why would the pads be worn on just one side? It was a seized driver's side brake caliper. So we replaced the pads and rotors on the front along with the driver's side caliper. Also replaced the passenger side wheel bearing. Our parts choice for the repair, Omnicraft. With today's complex vehicles, not every part works or works well. Quality, fit, and function is a belief system in my shop. Approved and backed by Ford Motor Company for most non-Ford and non-Lincoln vehicles, Omnicraft quality brake parts will help ensure vehicle reliability and longevity. Learn more about Omnicraft brakes and other Omnicraft parts at omnicraftautoparts.com. Omnicraft Auto Parts, backed by Ford.